All right, welcome to the Jeep Life Podcast. We've created this podcast to share our enthusiasm for the Jeep life in the Northeast and all over with our fellow Jeepers and friends. Call those people lifers. I'm here with my buddy, Don. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, Terry?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you.
It is. Anything exciting happened this week?
Oh, man, it's just been a crazy, crazy week. I can't believe we're recording episode 3 right now.
I know. Time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun.
How about this weather? Were you out in the Jeep?
Man, it was absolutely gorgeous out today. And yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
I was inside.
Were you? Nah,
Yeah.
I took the Jeep out yesterday for a ride. No four-wheeling, just some good pavement time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm so jealous. I saw everybody out on Facebook while I was inside all day.
That's rough, you know. It's like they're I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
It does. Yeah. I was out for maybe 2 hours. You know, Amy had an open house in Allentown. I thought I'd put some pavement time in, and not quite warm enough for me to put the top down, but enough to open up the window and enjoy some good Jeep time.
Yeah. So I was perusing through some Jeep news, and I saw the 2020 Gladiator, which isn't new news now, but I did see in Chicago that they released the Mojave version.
So what's the difference between? Because I haven't researched any of this yet.
It has a desert trail rating on it.
I did hear something about that. Absolutely.
Does that mean it's sealed up a little bit better?
No, it has. What did I hear? Something about wheel speed or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and upgraded Fox suspension.
Yes.
Yeah, that looked really cool. The desert line.
Right.
So, I'd hate to see the price tag on that.
How about it?
But man, it looked good. And it was 32-inch tires or 33s?
30, so what they're using, the largest tire you get in a Rubicon, whether it be the Gladiator or the JL, is it's a 285/70/17, which is a 33-inch tall tire. Yeah. Those are good-looking tires, though. They are. It's and I don't know, with that trim line, but I know with the Gladiators, you can get it with either, I believe it's a BFG mud terrain, or you can get it with, I think it's a Falcon.
Oh yeah. And that's kind of a nice little prelude, because I think we're going to talk tires a little bit later.
Oh, right? We're going to really talk tires later, yeah.
I love it. It's been an interesting, I guess, week and a half since the last time we got together. Almost 2 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be our normal recording space. There will be times where we interrupt it and do a 1 week stay, which I think we have coming up. So our normal routine is going to be around 2 weeks. So that gives us time to prepare and get a new episode out and get other people talking about it.
That's right. That's right.
I can't believe on podcasts we have 4 full reviews and 19 ratings, all 5 stars.
Yeah, everything looks good. And some good questions, some good feedback. I love it. Keep it coming. Yeah, and like I said, the feedback is so important, because we're certainly not making hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands or hundreds of dollars on this yet. But what fuels us is those that feedback and the reviews, how much people enjoy it, and that's really why we do this.
Yeah, and it means a lot. I mean, I get excited when I read those, and we actually got an email today from a listener, and I'm going to go ahead and skip our main topic and go right into that email.
Sounds good.
And it is an interesting thing, and so it allows us to get a little technical, I believe. And Don, I'm going to rely on you a lot. All right, this is from listener Kevin, and if we don't go deep into the answer on this episode, maybe we can direct Kevin to a good source, or maybe we'll put it as a topic sometime in the future. So hi there. After 30 years of wanting one, I recently bought my first Jeep, a 99 4-cylinder. I went searching for a podcast to listen to on my drive home, and I ran into your first episode. I love the podcast and can't wait to see where you guys take this. Keep up the great work. Man, that feels good right there already.
Absolutely.
And congratulations on that 99. That's not a bad Jeep, huh?
No, the TJ line was, depending on who you talk to, that's where they peaked as far as off-roading goes.
Yeah.
It was a coilover suspension, short wheelbase. So it was definitely off-road worthy. The only thing it lacked was interior space and carrying capacity.
So he goes on now for his question. My 99 is bone stock, but in great shape. That's all you need. Done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Full stop.
Especially, you got a classic there. You might want to. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of TJs left out there that are bone stock and in good shape.
Yeah, it has to have both of those, bone stock and in good shape.
Right.
Primarily, it's going to be used on the road, but still want to get onto some trails. And he uses the word tame trails. I'm having issues finding resources for suspension and tires for folks like me. I probably want a baby lift or a little bigger tire, but I really want this to be pretty smooth on the road. Whenever I look on the forums, folks are talking about 4-inch lifts and stuff that I'm not going to be interested in. Any suggestions, tips, resources, tricks that you can point me in the direction of for folks who want to do a little something for improving the quality on the road and being able to take it off-road when they want? I'm going to let you get a little more technical on this, but dude, I wouldn't change anything. I would enjoy it and take it on some tame trails because everything you're going to want to do, I think you're going to be able to do.
Yeah. So, Kevin, did you come to the right guy? Because, first of all, that's me. I don't do I'm actually I'm really about having a well-thought-out, well-planned Jeep build, and smaller is sometimes better if you don't have the budget to do a full-out rock rod. So I agree with Terry. What you have, is a great Jeep, and if you've never been wheeling with it, before you do anything, take it wheeling and take it on some greens, and after you get used to the green trails, try out a blue trail or two. Jeeps are like Ferraris in the dirt. They're a little rough on the road, and you get them in the dirt, and they're pinpoint perfect. But now, you did ask a question, so I'll answer it. And I had thought a lot about this today. Old Man Emu makes a great, or did, and I haven't had a TJ for a while. I'm pretty sure you can probably still get it, a 2-inch lift that rides like a Cadillac.
Oh, yeah.
And 2 inches is not that much that you're going to need to do a lot of extras to get it to track straight and handle well. And it'll allow you to run a 31 10.5-inch tire. So, at that point, the 4 cylinders are geared pretty well. You should still have more than enough power to get down the road. And you would have, a great Jeep, if you wanted to go that route. I believe the lift, the Old Man Emu 2-inch lift, is a coil sprung lift. It's coil lift. 4 shocks. I think they do some track bar relocation brackets and sway bar end links for it for the front. And like I said, Old Man Emu does a great job with tuning their shocks and their springs so that they ride and handle really nice. And you're not going to have a monster on your hand. It's going to be affordable to build and still very drivable.
I think being affordable and be drivable, falls in line with that. And I just love, you don't have to jack that thing up to be able to do some really cool off-road things with it at all.
No, you really will be amazed at what a Jeep can do. Even a 4-door JK, as big as they are, and I think they're 2 inches wider and 4 inches longer than a 2-door JK, which was larger. I'm sorry, it wasn't 2 inches wider, but the JK was 2 inches wider than the TJ, I believe, if I remember correctly. But I even at that, a JK is phenomenal, and I've wheeled them both. To be honest with you, a TJ is a little more raw, and you can feel it better. So, yeah, I think Terry has a great suggestion. Take it out, try it out the way it is, and, a good set of tires, a really good set of tires will make the world, make a world of difference. And if you still feel like you want that lift and a little bit bigger tire, that 2-inch Emu and a set of 31s, you have a great little Jeep.
Well, he'll need to lift it a little bit if he goes up to a 31-inch.
Yeah, most likely have a little bit of rubbing, if he's wheeling it hard with a 31-inch tall tire without a lift.
Yeah, so if you want to do that, then definitely go up. And at 2-inch, you don't have to change the geometry of the drive shaft or anything.
No, the geometry's good. They're usually good to about 3 inches, so you got to start dropping the transfer case of rear to drivetrain or a slip yoke eliminator, SYE. Control arm geometry should be good on it, and at 2 inches, you're not changing a lot. You're not putting a lot of money into it, and it's still going to drive real nice for you.
I like that. What an awesome email.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and a great question, and really got really involved. And I think we can put this on the topic list at some point that we can talk about, what do you do with, is a stock TJ or stock YJ, what do you do with it? You have fun with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the bottom line. It's just get out in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Kevin, you get the right idea. This is really about, for you, having fun. You're not worried about competing with the Joneses or what other people think. Obviously, you're not jumping into 33s or 35s in a huge lift. You're having fun with it, and I think when people do start getting tire envy is when you get Jeeps that don't handle well, and to boot, if they're not built right, they don't wheel as well as they could potentially.
Right, and just get out and enjoy it. And, if after a year or 2 years of enjoying the way it is and you want to add more to it, then save up and add more.
That's it. That's the beautiful part about a Jeep.
Yeah, you can never stop if you want to never stop.
No.
Yeah, and so he sent that in from jeeplifepodcast.com, so it came directly off of our website. And you can also email us at info@jeeplifepodcast.com, and we'll get that as well if you have a question or just want to say hey to us. We'd love to hear that, and maybe we'll be able to throw it up on the air and let you hear from us. So we talked about Kevin and some modifications outside, and sometimes that's the most obvious things when we pull up to a parking lot and we see a cool Jeep or we pass one on the road. But what about those things you can't see?
Talking about like those interior mods?
Yeah, those interior mods.
Yeah, okay.
What are some of the cooler interior mods that you've seen? I know that I've seen some really cool ones. I've done some cool ones.
Yes, yep. Lately, and I go back and forth, and I get it. Like, I've been looking at full roll cages, tying in the front, the front with a windshield hoop, and they have bolting kits, and I get it. I know a lot of you guys are saying, if you're going to do that, let's do the full welding. And the roll cage, a bolt-in roll cage, is not going to get you a whole lot of extra protection. But I do got to say it looks cool, and for a guy like me, I guess I'm more of a builder than a wheeler. I have wheeled Jeeps hard. I don't anymore. I just don't have the money to fix them or the time to fix them all the time, and I really don't plan on flopping it that hard that I would need a full weld-in roll cage, certified roll cage. I would be happy with a bolt-in. So that's one of the mods that I've really been into, and thinking about.
Yeah, you did the ram mount or the vector.
Yes. And
friend of the pod, Scott, really talked to me this past week about some of the cool things that can be done with that.
Yes.
And maybe we'll put that into a full segment sometime.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I feel like when I see the roll cages, they look cool. If I need that, man, I just need to park my Jeep. I don't. It's my daily driver, and if I'm rolling over,
it's not your daily driver anymore.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I still have to drive it home. But you also lose space. I feel like, I've driven your previous Jeep with the bar in there,
the Vector, right?
And I felt like it looked cool and so much possibility. But I felt like I lost space. I felt like everything got closer to me.
Yes. Yeah. And to boot, there was a lot of stuff on the interior of that. So, you had the Super Chips dash tack up by the mirror and a CB radio hanging from the top. And, the vector mount with the two. There was actually 2 ram mounts on that, and that was one of the reasons why when we got this 2018, I said I wanted a real clean interior.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it was. The other one was a little busy.
Now, do some of the roll bars have bars across the back of the seats of the front seats, or?
They do, and so the idea of that really is for like a 5-point harness.
Yeah,
that's where you tie the shoulder belts in. They really should be tied in below your existing shoulder line.
Okay, all right, and that's another interior mod that can be done.
Yes,
if you're serious into it.
Yep.
You can also do the racing seats.
Yes.
Wow, those are nice.
Yeah, so the big seat for off-roading that everybody talks about are suspension seats. So the bottom of the seat actually has its own suspension system to absorb some of the the shock while you're off-roading. They're nice. I've ridden in them, but the problem is when you put a 4-door in, you put the 2 front seats in, and then they don't match the back seats. And if you have OCD like me,
right. Well, speaking of seats that match, one of our listeners sent me a picture of one of the things they did. They put a 3rd row in, which you've talked about.
I have one in this one. I put 3rd row in this one. Yep.
Amazing, and that's another interior mod that you can do.
Yes.
Well, their Jeep Blue is the name of the Jeep, and it's blue, obviously.
Right.
But blue, it is gorgeous. They have this custom plaid blue interior.
Oh, that's cool.
That just is gorgeous, and they put in a 3rd row with a 3rd row roll cage back there, a bolt-on.
Yep,
I mean, super nice, and they painted it blue.
Right.
So the entire interior matches. Yeah. Oh man, just beautiful.
Yeah.
So you get 5 seats, 6 seats out of that?
I get 6 seats out of that. So the back is a CJ. It's a Corbeau CJ rear seat that fits in decent. There's a little bit of room on either side, and I custom made the brackets, but I had to cut the body up just a tad bit. Nothing that's going to affect it structurally. But it still folds and tumbles, and it's got belts on it, and the kids love riding in it. And that way, because like I said, my wife and I really we have 4 children. We love family. We wanted a big family. We also love their Jeep. So the only solution was a 4-door with 3rd row seating.
You don't want something that's not a Jeep,
right? Absolutely. Yeah, we did the minivan thing, and they're not as fun as they look.
Well, they do look great. I've done some really inexpensive interior mods. One of my best interior mods, and you see these appliques where you can put the applique on the steering wheel and on the vents.
Yep.
To give it a different color.
Yep.
For me, that just every single one of them has looked chintzy.
Yep.
And I feel like it's going to come off when it heats up and everything. I took all the vents and silver trim out of the Jeep and painted it all to match.
And it looks good. Yeah, I've been in your Jeep, driven your Jeep, and it does look good. It all ties it in.
I get so many compliments.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was a $6 two cans of rattle can paint, and they match pretty well.
I wouldn't notice.
Yeah, I spent some time, and the cool thing about like the grab bar in the very front in the passenger side, if you take the trim out of that, it looks like you have to undo the bolts. Same with the door trim.
Right.
Those are cosmetic. They're real metal bolts, but they just screw into the plastic trim.
Sure. Yeah.
So I took all those out. They were silver, and painted all those black, and then painted all the other trim red, and man, it just made the world of difference in there.
It does, and it ties it in really well, and it looks good. It doesn't look hokey or anything like that. It really does look good, and I agree with you. I think it looks better than if you had bought trim pieces and put them in, and I agree with you. Some of those look a little hokey. I
mean, each to their own. If you've done that, that's fine. I saw another Jeep yesterday that had white interior trim,
right,
and against a blue Jeep, and it looked fantastic.
And it does. And I think it really comes down to the product you buy. I shouldn't say it all, it's not that it all looks hokey, but I've seen some Amazon purchases that, like what you said, they're peel and stick, and you can tell the quality's not there, and fit great. But I like how you painted the Jeep for sure. The interior pieces.
I have a few chrome pieces that I've red and blacked out my Jeep, and there's a couple chrome pieces on the steering wheel and right next to the shifter that I would love to go black with.
Right.
I'm just scared of doing anything with that.
Yeah.
You take off the steering wheel, you've got to interfere with the
airbag,
and taking your gearbox off.
That airbag is about $1,000. Just so you know, Terry, not to add to your anxiety, but
and I certainly don't want it going off in my face.
No, definitely not.
I don't want to mess that up.
No.
So that for me is a little weird. What about seat covers?
So we actually had a set of seat covers for the sole purpose of trying to find something that we've got dogs too, but the dog hair wouldn't. Wouldn't. So I bought. They were Smitty built, and I liked them a lot.
Were they neoprene?
Yeah. I really liked them, and I wish I wouldn't have taken them out, but I took them out and sold them. I'm not really sure why. I just did. It wasn't that I wasn't happy with them. I liked them. I liked the way they looked. They really tied in. The back seat's a little bit different color than the front, than the second row and first row seats, and it matched perfectly. But I did like the look and the feel. It actually made the seats a little more comfortable. To be honest with you, I thought it did.
Yeah, I have the cloth seats, and I've traveled a lot with them, and I haven't found any major problems with it.
No.
But I've thought, in the summer it would be great to have a neoprene seat cover for the top down season.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I think why we took them out was the objective was to find something that didn't hold the dog hair and cleaned up a little easier, and it did not. So I think we took them out. I should have probably just kept them in hindsight.
Yeah. We live and learn. And
that's
the
right.
Smitty built's good. Good for that, or
they fit pretty well. They weren't sagging. They weren't loose. I felt like the fit was good. I would buy them again. Right.
Because I'm looking at top down season coming up, so I'm looking for fun things to do for the Jeep on the inside.
Yep.
And that'll be one of them.
Absolutely, and they're not super hard to put in. I mean, anybody can do it. You don't need any special tools. It just takes a little bit of, pulling and yanking and pressing with your fingers to get everything to lay flat and where it's supposed to be. And there's some clips, and that's it. Really, there's nothing to take apart. Or worst thing you got to take apart is the headrests.
Okay.
You got to take the headrests off the top, and that's it.
Just for the front seats, the rear headrests.
Yeah. Trying to think,
because those I've understood are kind of a pain.
No, I think you got to take the backs off too. I can't remember. To be honest with you, I don't know. Okay. I don't remember.
I'll research that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I had ours in an hour. It wasn't too bad.
Oh, cool. Yeah, last time we talked about, I think we've talked already about phone mounts, so we can cover that. What other interior mods are good?
Well, there's a lot of electronic stuff, CB radios.
Oh, yeah.
When you're out in the trail, you definitely helps to have a CB radio. Now, with this one, I am not going to put a radio in it. I'm going to take a note from my friend Terry and do a handheld. The bonus of that is when you're spotting for other people, you can have that CB with you. Shattered Dream Designs is an up-and-coming apparel company specializing in t-shirts, hoodies, and team jerseys. Their design team provides custom graphics, or you can use your own graphics. Reach out to them at Twitter @DesignShattered and get your next project started.
All right. Well, this kind of brings us to our big product review section. And Don, you've really wanted to talk tires, and I've really wanted to learn a little bit of tires. I like the tires I have, but I look over at yours and I go, man, I think I'm leaning toward that.
Yeah. I when I first got into this, I opened up the catalog and I picked the biggest, cheapest tires I could find that I could fit in my Jeep. And you learn, there's, first of all, a lot that goes into planning and building a Jeep. Again, if you want it right. And a lot of that starts with, your budget. And that budget is going to sort of,
that dictates a lot.
It does dictate a lot. It really does. So one of the reasons, let me backtrack here a minute. One of the reasons we chose this is because we had a really great review from a listener about tires, and so I kind of just wanted to answer his question, and we're going to go ahead and do that. But let's start with tires by the numbers.
It can be confusing.
It can be. So you have what we call metric or passenger car tire sizes, which is the numbers, typically like a 285, 70, 17. And I'm going to explain to you what that means. And then it usually also has on there like maybe a 91S, which is a load index and a speed rating. And then you have your more standard that we're all, you always hear us refer to 33-inch tall tires or 35-inch tall tires. That's the light truck.
Oh, okay.
That's that light truck sort of standard. So going back to the P-metric tires, and this is really the first decision everybody really needs to make is, what size tire do I want to run? And really, you need to think about your budget. You need to think about, what am I going to use this for? A good 33-inch tall tire will fill the wheel wells with a 2.5-inch, 3-inch lift kit. I mean, what I'm running is a 2.5-inch Rubicon on a pretty light 4-door JK that actually ended up netting almost 3 inches with 285 70 17s, which is a 33-inch tall tire. And it's got a good stance to it. You really, from as I'm rolling down the street, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a Jeep that has 35s or this one that has 33s. Now, I wheel my Jeeps, and keep this in mind that when you go from a 33 to 35-inch tall tire, although it seems a lot bigger, you're only netting 1 inch of ground clearance.
1 inch.
Because you measure that from the center line of the tire. So on the trail, I'll agree there's times when 1 inch can make a difference, but for most of us, 1 inch isn't going to do a whole lot. The other thing you have to keep in mind is the taller that tire gets, the more your final drive ratio changes. So that refers to, let's face it, I mean, a 3.6 is the most powerful engine up until the diesel that they've put in Jeeps ever. And as powerful as it is, you're not going to win any drag races with the JK.
So that refers to the number of times that the gear has to spin versus the number of times complete revolutions that the tire goes around.
So so actually it refers to how many times the engine spins around. So one rotation of the engine may equal 2 rotations if you're in an overdrive gear to the tire. Okay. And that number diminishes when you put bigger tires on it. So you're losing torque, and that's really what you need when you're wheeling.
Okay.
So that's something important. If you don't have the money to re-gear, you really probably want to, 35 is really pushing the number. Automatics seem to be a little better because the torque converter eats up a lot of that. There's some torque multiplication that happens with the torque converter, and they don't feel quite as bad, and especially with like an AAV calibration, calibrator or AV programmer that really allows you to calibrate the shift points. You were talking about that with yours, how much of a difference that made. Right. But let's talk about these numbers, and that's, like I said, that's a number that you need to come up with. You need to think about what you're going to do with it. Am I going to hardcore wheel it? If you're going to hardcore wheel this thing, you're probably going to want a 34 or 35-inch tall tire, and you're probably going to want to re-gear. If you're a guy like me, look, I just love Jeeps. I like wheeling. I like driving them on the road. I just, sometimes I even come out to my garage and just stare at my Jeep. It's sad, but that's what I do. It's So, for me right now, I got a couple limiting factors. One is budget. Two is the size of my garage doors.
Right.
My 2018 with this Rubicon lift and the 285s, which is a 33-inch tall tire, barely clears the garage door with the soft top.
Right.
But understanding the P metric is kind of important because you're going to see that up until a 33-inch tall tire. When you're in a 17, 18-inch, 19-inch wheel size. So first of all, the first number that you see, for instance, the 285 is 285 millimeter width of the tire. The second number is the aspect ratio. So if it's a 70, that means that sidewall is 70% as high as the tire is wide. So that's where it gets kind of confusing because we can have thinner tires and a higher number, but it doesn't mean as much in height.
Okay.
After that, you'll see, and 99% of the tires anymore, even in off-roading, are radial, but you'll see an R, and that just stands for radial tire. We don't have a whole lot of bias construction tires out there. You'll see them for some mud applications. Super Swamper still makes some bias ply tires. And then there's a number after the R, which is usually a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's the rim diameter for the tire. Okay. So when we're talking about a 285 70 17, it's 285 millimeters wide. The sidewall is 70% of the 285. The 17 means that it's on a 17-inch wheel, which is probably your best bet for wheel, and you do want some sidewall. And then we get into some other things that you really need to take consideration that a lot of people don't think about, which is load index.
Right.
The load index, or the Jeep GVWR, is approximately 5,400 pounds. And that's a Jeep, that's a 4-door JKU, and this varies depending on equipment,
right, plus or minus.
Right. And if you have a 91 load index, that is 1,356 pounds per tire, times 4 puts you at 5,424 pounds. So you can buy a bigger tire with a lower load index, but you're taking a chance when you have that fully loaded. Let's say you have 4 adults in it, some luggage,
some gear,
cooler, a couple drinks in there, and some ice. You throw
steel bumpers.
Steel bumpers, winches, throw a roof rack on there. You got to make sure that you have the correct load rating. So that's the other part of it. So there is some research that you're going to need to do, and I'll sum it up in the end very simply. Speed rating isn't.
Who cares?
Yeah, right. We're not doing 150, but believe it or not, there are tires out there that are speed rated for 65, 75 miles an hour. Whoa. So you really need to be careful.
Yeah.
You really need to make sure in a Jeep that you have a tire that's speed rated for, I would say, at least 100 miles an hour to be in a safe side.
Downhill.
Yeah, downhill, right.
Downhill.
Except for those Hemi swap guys.
Right, true, those
guys. So that's understanding the P metric size of it. Now, the light truck size is pretty straightforward. You're going to have it's going to say 35 by 12.5 R17. 35 is 35 inches tall, 12.5 is 12.5 inches wide, and the R17 is the wheel diameter. Again, now they rate those a little bit different. Light truck load indexes use the number that I described, but also a load index B, C, D, E, and F. And light truck tires, I don't know when I've seen a B or C light truck tire, but you will see D's, E's commonly in the Jeep world. Nitto, for one, sells a 285 7017 in either a D or E load rating, and what that's going to be is the difference in ply on the sidewall plies. The D rating is going to have less plies. It is going to be a little bit better on the road, so you're going to absorb a little more of those bumps and things like that. But the downside is you are not going to have the strength or durability of that you will on an E-tire. And that's usually a good tire vendor will say, well, what are you going to do with this? You're going to wheel it at all? Use an E-rated, tire on it. Let's talk about tire categories. And this is another important aspect of this. And for the simplicity of this show, we're going to break it up into 4 categories. All-terrain tires, extreme all-terrain, mud tires, and extreme mud terrain tires.
Wow.
I think
that's a lot.
It is, yeah.
It's a lot.
I think what you have, Terry, is like a mud terrain. What I'm running is an extreme all-terrain. The 2 newer categories are both the extreme categories, extreme all-terrain and extreme mud terrain. The all-terrain tires, just like the name says, it's meant for the road. It's meant to wheel a little bit. It's going to be better in the snow than a mud tire. It's going to be a little quieter. It's going to wear a little better. That's the name of the game. It's an all-terrain tire.
Yeah.
The extreme all-terrain tires, really what they've done with those is added some durability to the tire. So when you're on a rock or you come up on the side of a rock, it doesn't tear a hole in your sidewall.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I've read enough overlanding magazines. I learned that when you're driving on dirt roads at high speeds for long times, it actually chews the tire up. And an extreme all-terrain is a little bit of a hardier tread on it as well. They put larger side lugs on them for improved grip and loose material. Might get a little noisier tire, but all in all, not quite as extreme as a mud tire. Mud tires, you have bigger lugs. You have bigger side lugs. Typically, it's a heavier tire. And then extreme mud terrain, of course, is the ultimate. You got massive lugs on it. It's a heavy tire. They don't track well. They don't drive well on the roads. They don't wear well. It's a tire that's meant for wheeling and meant to spend most of its life in the dirt. My pick is extreme all-terrain tires, and that's just because, like I said, I'm a driver. I drive this Jeep like it's a Porsche. I'm not doing 90 in a 30 corner,
right.
but I'm trying to do 40 in a 30. They handle well, they wear well, they do well in snow and rain. A really great category of tire. Now, it's not to say that all terrains aren't great or mud terrains aren't great or extreme mud terrains, but for what I'm using my Jeep for, I wheel. But I don't wheel enough to say that I want to put a set of mud tires or extreme mud tires on it. It does see a good amount of pavement as well. So an extreme all-terrain is a real good fit for me. And like I said, you got to think about tire size, load rating. There's a lot that goes into it. So that being said, I'm going to start to sum all this up. And the review, the person that reviewed it asked, what's a great winter tire? Well, I'm going to say, in my experience, either one of 2 tires, and I'll tell you what I base my facts on. The BFG KO2, which is they're extreme all-terrain tire, or the Nitto Ridge Grapplers. I've probably mountain balanced hundreds of tires in the past 15 years.
Just a few.
Just a few, yeah. And everything from Maxxis Trepidors, variations of Maxxis, ProComp tires, Mickey Thompsons. And what I'm basing this on solely is wear and tear, drivability both on and off road, and probably to me the most important thing is construction. And I'm basing the construction on how these things balance out. So the BFGs and the KO2s and the Nitto Ridge Grapplers, in time after time in our shop, take the least amount of weight. I've had Maxxis where I've lined up half the wheel with wheel weights.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not knocking the brand. It was a great tire off road, but it was a mud tire. It was about $70 less than like a Goodyear or a Nitto. But these BFGs are actually Nitto tires. I balanced Nitto tires with good sets of wheels where they haven't needed weight. They literally were on the par right as I mounted them. The other part of this is wear. So a good extreme all-terrain tire like the BFG KO2 or the Nitto Ridge Grapplers, I'm personally, out of my Jeeps, I'm getting 50 to 60,000 miles out of them with tire rotations every oil change. Right. But I'm getting some serious mileage on them. And like I said, I drive these things. On-road manners are excellent. They handle well. They don't howl. You don't get a lot of vibration from them. I will say the Nittos are a tad bit louder than the BFGs, but the Nittos are also a little bit stickier in the dirt than the BFGs are as well. The only downside to an extreme all-terrain is thick mud. That's where those big lugs come in. You get the wheel speed going. You're clearing the mud from the tire. The Nittos, BFGs, any of the extreme all-terrains tend to clog. And
they hold it in.
They hold it in, right. And the other last part is these BFGs and these Nittos. I've driven them both in snow, and they're phenomenal in snow. They're just great tires.
I feel like I've learned so much about tires.
And sorry about that, Terry.
I have really cool mud terrains, but I'm kind of getting tired of the mud terrain sound.
Yes. Yep.
And I like to go off-roading. I'm not a heavy wheeler, but I like to go off-roading.
Sure.
And I'm to the point where I'd rather not go in the mud where I would need that.
Yeah.
But, they look cool. In fact, they look pretty awesome.
They do, absolutely.
But I just stare at yours, and I'm like, I want those. I like the tread on that.
Yeah, and they've done a much better job with these all-terrains, making them look. They're not as cool as a Maxxis Trepidor. I mean, to me, that is just the tire screams, apocalypse, end of the world. It's like something you see in Mad Max.
Yeah,
it's a cool tire, but they've done a lot better. They've added side lugs for protection and a little bit of traction, added traction, and they definitely do. They look better than the old all-terrain tires that you think of.
Yeah, the old all-terrains really look like just truck tires.
Yes. Yeah.
And now these definitely have some bite to them. They look pretty good.
Yeah,
so I dig it.
The Jeep really, at least the JK, it really is about a well-rounded Jeep. And that's what an extreme all-terrain tire is, a well-rounded tire. And we're finally, in the past 10 years, getting some really good tires for the off-road industry. I mean, they're really putting some good science into them, and
so any of those tire companies would like for me to test out a set of extreme all-terrains.
Yes.
Yeah, let me know. T-Bone would love to have that on Kylo.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple last-minute things before we move on. Just common tire sizes for Jeeps: CJ, YJ, TJ. The common tire sizes 30 to 33-inch tall tires with. And this is, again, with a mild to a little bit larger lift. And any one of those three, I've seen 35s, 37s, but you're getting into some...
You're modifying the frame and the body.
Cutting fenders usually. Yep. JK's 35 is the new 33. Everybody seems to be running 35s, And now I don't. I run 33s, but... JL stock, they're 33s, and guys are running 37s with 2-inch Mopar lifts on them. 40 inches, you're probably someone special at that point. Tires are getting bigger and bigger. XJs and ZJs, 31 to 33-inch tall tires, and that's some common tire sizes for some of the more popular Jeeps out there. Tip of the week with tires: if you do put an aftermarket set of tires on, one of the things you're going to need to do, especially if they're larger tires, is figure out the tire pressure to run. So, the manufacturer posts tire pressure sizes based on the GVWR and the tire size of the vehicle. Well, you're changing tire size. Usually, pressures go down. It's hard to gauge what pressure to run them. So we do something in our shop called chalk lining. We'll actually take a tire crayon or a chalk and draw a line across it and we will drive that and not too far, about 100 feet, and stop. And you take a look at that chalk line. What you want is that whole chalk line to disappear. If you're disappearing in just the middle, your tire pressures you're too high. You're blowing those tires out. If they're, if it's just the edges, you're too low. So easy, quick way to figure out what a good tire pressure is.
We do have a Jeep of the week.
Yes.
And we have a Jeeper from the Murfreesboro, Tennessee area. And his name is Rob Foster. And just an awesome dude from Tennessee. And he sent me his rig. And wow. Just a beautiful red, #Team Red Jeep. And I'm going to be honest. I built my rig based on his rig. So everything about my Jeep I kind of built on his. And
did you is this somebody you met through Instagram or social media?
Reconnected, if you will.
Okay, gotcha.
He sent in his rig of the week, and man, it's just a beautiful red Jeep. It is a 2014 Rubicon. It's got a Rock Krawler 3.5-inch X-Factor lift,
which is a great lift.
Yeah, and it stands. We talk about stance sometimes, and it just looks really good. Right. It looks like it's supposed to be there.
This picture could be, that he sent is phenomenal.
It could be, at an advertisement for Jeep.
Really could be.
And we'll put that out on Instagram, and maybe we'll put it up on the Facebook as well or something.
It's definitely wallpaper worthy.
Yeah, he just keeps on going. He's got all kinds of armor, great bumper, a lot of poison spider stuff, and it just looks awesome. And maybe I'll put out the specs and everything on that as well. We haven't figured out. I don't want to go down the whole list of everything, but
looks like it has a nice. He's got a new Zeon worn winch on it.
Yeah.
I like how he did a lot of things. It's not overdone with lights. He's got a pair of KC, looks like KC daylighters up on the A-pillars, factory fogs and headlights on it, but it's not overdone by any means. Just looks like a lot of good parts. Yeah, it looks tough. And I love that he drives that thing and he wheels it. He's in a club out of Nashville, Jeeps and Wrenches, and they seem like just the nicest people and a really good club. So yeah, that's great. That's pretty awesome. I'd love to maybe sometime talk to those guys. Yeah. I see the banner on his windshield, Jeeps and Wrenches. That's a cool name. Yeah, it is cool. So I'm sure they're a lot like our club where they just get together and help each other out and absolutely, build together. So Rob, thanks for sending that in. That was pretty cool. Absolutely. Thank you, Rob. And like I said, it's a good looking Jeep, and actually the red is growing on me between your Jeep and a couple others in the club. And is Brandon part of Team Red? Does that count? He's Team Reddish. Yeah, okay. We call him as Reddish. And sometime when we have him on, we'll ask him about the actual name of that red, but it's more of an orange. Burnt orange, yeah. It's good looking. It is a good looking Jeep. It is a good looking Jeep. Yeah, but this is definitely a Team Red Jeep for sure. Thanks, absolutely. Rob. Thank you. I know that we're going to come out live next weekend. We're doing Tech Day with our club, and we're going to record live at that event. I think we've got a guest lined up. We've got some cool just things going on for that. We also have May 16th is Go Topless Day. It's Extreme Terrain's Go Topless Day. That's going to be all over the country. We will definitely be with the Jeep Enthusiast of Eastern Pennsylvania. Maybe we might do a live remote that day as well. We'll see how that works out. But that'll be at the Mountain View Winery in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. So that should be fun. Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Can't wait for it. We a lot of spring events, outdoor events coming up. Oh, I can't wait to get that top down. I know. Can't wait. It's too cold up here. Yeah, it really is. I'm ready. All right. Well, I guess that
brings us to the end. So, Don, if you don't mind telling everybody where we can be found.
We can be found at Apple Podcasts, JeepLifePodcast.com. Our Instagram is at JeepLifePod. Facebook is Facebook.com/Jeep Life Podcast. And YouTube, just search for Jeep Life Podcasts.
Yeah, we do have both previous episodes on YouTube as well. Not in full video content, so you can't actually see us yet. We're working on that.
We are. Yep.
And I believe we're now on Spotify and Google Play. Hey, you know what, Don? It's been great. I'll see you next week.
I can't wait. Thanks, Terry.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's go do that right now with mine.
Perfect. We'll head right out there. Absolutely. We'll be back in a minute.
Perfect. What else? I feel like you've written the book on tires right now. What is there anything else that we need to know? Our listeners need to know.
If I were to sum it up, that's what I would just think carefully. Don't worry about what the Joneses are doing, and think about what's best for you.
Yeah, do what's right for you, and I think that can be our motto overall.
Yeah,
just do what you want to do. Don't do what.
Yeah,
although
don't get tire envy. Tire envy's bad.
I know, and I'm guilty of it.
Absolutely, me too. But I resist. I've been resisting. But yeah, tire envy is no good.